Hello, I'm speaking with Mr. John Hayter, Rayleigh registered member of Reform UK, who has written the political viewpoint article for our June 22nd Rayleigh and Eastwood Times edition. Good morning, John. So you've
Yes,
started off, the Mill Hall proposed development is a microcosm of what is happening all over England with housing development. Would you
that's
like to
right.
explain that a bit, please, for me?
Yes, I can. The Tories are Conservative government are very keen to build concrete, basically all over England. They want to build 300,000 homes every year, and what is happening is that Rochford District has had many developments um, over quite a long period. And what happens is that the central, there's no local democracy. The central government tell the local council, which is Rochford District Council, how many homes they would like. The Rochford District Council have to carry that out. And the only discretion in the Rochford District Council is for where the homes are going to be built. And then what happens is that the Rochford District Council then invites landowners to to put forward their land for prospective homes. They're largely green belt, and once the local council decide that they're going to use that land for building, the status of that land changes, and it is no longer greenbelt, and the development takes place. Um, it's it's not really a democratic process at all, and this is going to be ongoing for a number of years. And what happens is that the central government, unfortunately, do not care about infrastructure. They don't care about public services. And what you get is difficulty in getting a doctor's appointment with all these new homes, increase in population. You get difficulty in moving on the roads, getting your children into school, that sort of thing. And we're becoming more and more densely populated. Now, this is on a local level. It's happening all over England, and you have to ask yourself, what is the reason for this? And the reason for this has been mass, uncontrolled immigration by the political classes over many, many years. Now, I can expand on this, but you see, it's our Christian duty to welcome immigrants. The English are a tolerant and courteous people. That's a very important thing to say right at the outset. Now, you cannot blame people coming from abroad to better their life or to earn more money. We'd all do the same. But what you need is manageable and sustainable immigration. We haven't got that. And basically what happens is that we've got this terrific surge in immigration. It's gone on since 1997, since Tony Blair came in. And what you have is from 1997 to 2020, you have net immigration of 5.35 million. They're the ones we know about. And what you've got also, under the Tories, since 2014 to 2020, you've had net immigration of 1.6 million. Now, can you imagine the pressure that puts on doctors' surgeries, the pressure that puts on housing, pressure that puts on public services and infrastructure? We're only a small island, and so consequently, with this is the Migration Watch in 2015 made a report, And in that report, they said that the fueling of house building is 80% immigration. And that's not, and that is, the political classes are not telling us that. The political classes want us to accept these building estates, transforming the rural idyll into giant housing estates. They want us to accept that without telling us that it's basically as a result of mass uncontrolled immigration. And also, because we are so overpopulated, densely populated, we get this simple economic supply and demand. And that's why houses are so expensive and beyond the reach of our youngsters. So basically that is the background to it. If only the political classes would control immigration. Prior to 1997, the immigration rates were a maximum of about 50,000 net a year. The latest immigration figures to March 2020 under the Conservative government, it's 313,000 came in, you know, and it is concerning. I don't know why the Conservative government do not control immigration. Every single general election, they pledge that they will control immigration, and then they do exactly the opposite. I can't understand it, but basically that's the background to this terrific surge in housing, and of course that was reflected in the Chesham and Amersham by-election, where the Tories lost by a majority of 8,000 to Liberals. The two factors there, they think, were one, HS2, but the other one was the proposed planning reforms and huge house building in the Chiltern countryside. And I was brought up in the Chiltern, so I know those beautiful villages. I mean, it really is a bit of a sacrilege, really. But that's the background to it, Mark.
You've actually done a really concise job of starting at the beginning of your article and working your way through. So I congratulate you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. I've not had to prompt you at all. There are a couple of bits that I'd like ask you to expand on a bit, if that's all right. One of them is the section 106 commitment
yes.
to build new school surgeries and all that. Now, this is that you're talking about the change in upcoming in planning regulations. Can you explain a little bit about that? What the impact of that's going to be, please?
Yeah, the section 106 agreement. What happens is that the developer enters into an agreement with the council or whatever to develop an area. And the council says, right, okay, now we'd like you to build your school. We'd like you to build new community centre. We'd like you to build a new doctor's surgery. Now, what happens on some occasions is that the developer goes back and says, I'm sorry, I've run out of money. I can't do it. And that happens on quite a few occasions. That's basically the section 106. The other point I'd like to make is that when the Rochford District Council or any council discuss whether they're going to grant planning permission, new hospitals are not a factor. They're not a factor. Doctors' surgeries are schools, but not hospitals. And I would say that maybe the huge increase in population in England, because they all come to the south of England, the immigrants, they don't. The huge increase in population was probably a factor with this lockdown. The hospital can't cope. And now the hospitals have got what, 5 million waiting list. Again, we haven't got the infrastructure, we haven't got the public services. Mass increase in population. I mean, I don't know why the political classes do it. I mean, you know, it seems to me the political classes have not got the people's interests at heart. Whether they got a globalist agenda, maybe. I don't know, but I don't know why they do it. And I think they cause a lot of misery. And also, I have to say, with the housing now that's being built in Rochford District, they're allowing 3-storey houses, basically in a 2-storey area, and extensions that block out people's light next door. They're causing a lot of misery, you know, and it's concerning. What was the other point you wanted me to expand on?
There's 2 questions really that I'd like to tackle. You say that central government doesn't care about local people, and that there's no democracy about building houses. I struggle with that a little bit, because this government in a democratic country has been voted in, and repeated governments are. So if these governments are voted in and then go and do what they do, surely in a democracy they are acting on behalf of the people. And it kind of sounds like you're implying that somehow the vote of the person in the street and the activity of the government are separate. How does that work from your perspective?
Well, basically, my own view is that the political classes, particularly Tory and Labour, although the rhetoric might be different, what they actually do is not far different. They're both in favour of mass immigration. They're both in favour of a vast house building, which is what we're dealing with here. First past the post does not produce to me as fair reflection of democracy as proportional representation. I think there's only about 2 or 3 countries in the whole of Europe that do not have first past the post. They're all proportional representation. We are one of the 2 or 3. They're going for first past the post. If you had proportional representation, you'd have a better reflection of democracy, a better reflection of what people want. I don't believe that the people want vast house building. And when it comes to general election, what choice have you got? They're all the same. The Liberals want it, the Labour Party want it, the Conservative Party want vast house building. They want vast immigration as well. I mean, the Labour Party, probably the rhetoric is more emphatic in that direction. Although, you know, the fallacy is that it was Tony Blair that first started mass immigration, but the Tories have continued that with a premium. The Tories have brought in vast immigration. So really, Mark, I have to say there's not a lot of difference between or amongst the 3 political parties. What choice have you got?
So these political parties are acting irrespective of what the population wants and would vote for. Is that your thinking?
Yes, they don't really carry out the democratic wishes of the people. No. Can I say that the only time I've ever really heard immigration being debated, because it's suppressed now, very much suppressed. If you talk about immigration, it's racism, etc., etc. the only time I've ever heard immigration being debated on the television, on the broadcasting media, was in the 2016 referendum. And then it was debated. You had immigrants coming on there and bemoaning the fact about the lack of social cohesion, bemoaning about the situation in their area, crime and that sort of thing. But before and after, I have never, the Telegraph, I read the Telegraph regularly. Telegraph is a superb paper, I think now. Used to like the Times, but now the Telegraph, I think, superb journalism, but they very rarely mention immigration. It's, you know, it's, ooh. And, you know, it's a hot potato.
It is a very, very hot potato.
Very hot potato.
But one of the things that you said is that, and I'll quote it, "This is why houses are so expensive and beyond the reach of our youngsters. Simple supply and
Yes.
demand." That's
Yes.
That's a big statement to, you know, to lay the cost of housing at the door or at the feet of immigration. And there must be other factors. It can't just be, or I would suggest maybe, it can't just be that immigration is the sole reason for house prices being so high. There are other factors. There must be. Would you recognise that or not?
Well, can I just read to you? Can I just read to you? On the 29th of April 2015, Migration Watch UK made a report.
Can I just, before we go on, Immigration Watch UK, can you tell me who they are? What are their credentials?
Migration Watch UK.
Yes.
Oh, they're a very, if you look them up, they're a very, very respected organisation, you know, been going for years, very respected organisation. Yeah. Got all sorts of diversity, got all sorts of, you know, all sorts of good people. I mean, if you look at them, they're very well respected. And they've been going for a long, long time.
Yeah. No,
Migration Watch UK. Yeah.
I only ask that because people that are watching perhaps haven't heard of them and would want to know: are they're a government organisation? They're an independent organisation? What?
I think they're an independent organisation. Lord Green of Deddington was the chairman of them. Yeah, they in fact have all the figures on net immigration over the years. Can I just read it to you? And what it said was, it's a report by Lord Green of Deddington. He's the chairman of Migration Watch UK. And he said that 80% of additional households in recent years, this is 2015, have been headed by an immigrant. And Lord Green went on to say that communities are asked to accept new housing development without being told that most of the additional households are due to immigration. Now, no, sure, it's not only immigration. I mean, you know, youngsters, my children and grandchildren, they want houses. But you see, what the political classes, and I remember reading a report from the Conservatives years ago, and they said it's 40%. The pressure on new houses is 40% from immigration. But I don't think that's true. Migration, what you say, it's more than that. It's basically 80%, and a huge increase in immigration. Sorry, in population. It's huge. We're what do we know? 70 million, getting on for 70 million now. I mean, it's huge. And you can see it on our roads, and you know, we can't move. What happens when the water runs out? Well, I mean, you know, We have a drought. The water runs out, and I mean, it's what, when I grew up, we never had that. When I grew up, there was open, in the children's open spaces. You could roam for miles and miles and miles. Now it's sad because basically in Rochford District, you know, concreting over, you know, agricultural land and everything, you know. Holbridge, 500, 600 homes. I voted against that. When I was on the council, I voted against all of that. In the West of Rayleigh, I voted against that. And then they said, no. I remember once, actually, we won. I can't remember whether it was West of Rayleigh or whether it was Holbridge, but we won. Yeah, we won democracy. We stopped the building, you know. And all the people were there, and they were happy, and there were lots of people in the chamber, and they were very, very happy. And then they said, the Conservatives said, but if we go to appeal, we're going to lose, and the Rochford District Council will go bankrupt. And I said, well, that's the price of democracy. That's fine, but no, that was overturned. Yeah, that's democracy at local level. And you see, the other thing is, if planning permission is refused, and this has happened. I mean, someone mentioned it in the during the process of the Cheshire and Amersham by-election. Someone mentioned it. They said, you know, we turned it down. We didn't want it, but it went to a government inspector, carrying out the wishes on appeal, carrying out the wishes of central government. Your build, you know, whatever your build, and that's what happened. And there's absolutely no democracy with it at all, not for local people. And this process, with the rise of population, is going to go on for years. And some people are moving out of Rayleigh now. They're going to Suffolk, and they're going to Norfolk. And I think to myself, how long is it going to be before building up there as well? All over England.
One question I was going to ask. I mean, I heard a statistic not too long ago that said,
yeah,
about 10% of the UK had been built on. That means there's 90% left that could be built on. Is there such a problem if there's so much space that could be built on?
Well, they say that, don't they? We need agricultural land for growing our food, etc. I mean, I would just say, look at the density of population now. It's we're the most densely populated country in Europe. We've overtaken, in 2019, we overtook Holland. And we're 432 people per square kilometre. That's all over England. And if you look at Northumberland, you go to Northumberland, not many people there. So what must the south of England be like? All right, yeah, you fly over the south of England and you fly over the estuary and you see the building from the southeast and London. That's a mass of house building. And that's where the people come to. The immigrants, they don't go to Scotland or anything like that, Wales. They come to the south. They come to Magna, London in the southeast. And London in the southeast is hugely, probably one of the most densely populated areas anywhere in the world. Given countries over 10 million, you know, southeast, and it is getting. I saw it first of all when I was a solicitor. I was a defence advocate, and I saw it first of all in the year 2000, when Blair really started to let it rip. And I saw it in the magistrates' court, saw it in the Crown Court, with a huge cost of interpreters, huge cost. All the cases used to be held up. We used to get the interpreters in from London, and I thought then, is this going to go on? You know, I didn't think it would, but it did, and it has gone on now for 21 years. You know, and Yeah.
Wasn't Brexit supposed to tackle immigration? Wasn't that one of the key pillars of the Brexit argument?
I'm glad you asked that, Mark. That is a very good point. That because you had free movement, didn't you, from the EU, free movement, and then the immigrants from outside the EU, they're granted visas to come over. Not so within the EU. What happened over a long period of time was people used to say, well, you know, the political classes used to say, well, you can't control immigration. You can't control it. They're all coming from the EU. You can't control it. And you have, it was all unskilled people were coming in from, we want skilled people, you know, they were coming in from the EU. And so what happened then was that in the initial stages, the EU had more immigrants than outside the EU. But over a period of time, it changed. And the EU immigrants became less than those outside the EU. And the government were granting more visas to people from outside the EU to come in. And in particular, that has now happened in the year ending March 2020, when the government introduced 313,000 net immigrants in that year. Now, by far, the majority of those immigrants were from outside the EU. So the government has control of that. And they were granting visas for those people to come in. Now, I'm all in favour. I must say this because, you know, and I haven't, I should have done. I'm all in favour of manageable and sustainable immigration. We need these people. We want these people to give vibrancy to our economy and to our country. We need, you know, good doctors, you know, good surgeons. We need these people. And, you know, and we welcome, you know, come. You know, they contribute phenomenally. Look at what the Jewish contingent who came in, you know, they came in from Hitler. Look at what they've contributed, the Jewish contingent, to our country. They've been fantastic. Their contribution to our country. You know, I know in the law, you know, the number of, you know, judges, top judges that are Jewish, you know, and in the medical profession as well. We need these people. They're fantastic. And what they've contributed to culture as well. Wonderful. What Germany lost was the culture, you know, wonderful culture. But the thing is, we need manageable and sustainable immigration, like it used to be. Maybe 50,000 net a year, where we choose the skilled people. Or if we want people to come in from in the hospitality sector, yeah, bring them in. Or if we want people in agriculture, bring them in. Bring them in, you know, or you know, we need doctors because we're not training enough of our own. That's another story. Or nurses because we haven't training enough of our own. Bring them in. The only thing there is a bit of an immorality because nurses from their own country, poor countries where they're needed, you know, because we haven't trained. This is absolutely right. We haven't trained our own doctors for years, or our own nurses. When I was standing in the general election in 2015, there was a head, and I brought it into debate. There was a headline: 300,000 would-be British nurses wanted to not British, but would-be British nurses, students wanted. They were all rejected. No, we can't. We're not training. You're not training. Not training our own doctors. Well, maybe over the years, the political classes should do, because when I was young, they used to train the doctors.
It's a very tricky topic, isn't it, all this? Is there somewhere where this kind of information is laid out? You are registered member of the Reform UK. Is there a website for Reform UK that explains all these kind of points?
Well, these are my feelings over.
Okay.
Sorry.
Now, I wanted to clarify.
These are my feelings.
They're your opinion.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah, you can get these figures from Migration Watch UK.
Yeah.
If you look it up, you can see that we are the most densely populated country 2019. You can get those figures. They're all on, basically the figures are on the, you know, the internet. You can get these figures. They're pretty, you know, now you can do it with the internet. This is what's fantastic about the internet. You can get these figures. And over the years, and of course, every so often the government have to give these figures. It's normally the year ending March for immigration, or the year ending June. Office of National Statistics. They're very good. The Office of National Statistics. They were very good during all this lockdown. You know, they gave you the figures of people that were dying, or, you know, all that sort of thing. But you can find out, and people, you know, really people need to do this. They need to look and you know, and research. Don't just take the word of the political classes. You know, I'm sorry. Don't look it up for yourself. You can do that. You know, and this is what's so wonderful about the internet.
I do still feel that the bit that you put in that says that the increase in house prices is at the feet of immigration, I don't feel that's been addressed properly. I struggle with there must be other factors, and you must appreciate that there are other factors which are to do with increased house prices and all that sort of stuff.
Well, you've got to be careful here.
Yeah.
You've got to be very, very careful. You don't never, ever, ever put any blame on the people coming. You must welcome them. It's your Christian duty to welcome them and be courteous to them. You know, this is and they make a contribution. This is very, very important to make the separation between that and a government that maybe has a globalist agenda and wants to increase our population exponentially over the years. It's a question of supply and demand. If you have a huge population, it's rising, you're going to have terrific pressure on building and houses. It's a question of supply and demand. There's obviously other factors. There's people already here. Their children are coming along. They want housing, and grandchildren want housing. They can't get it because it's so expensive. Canada, look at Canada. In Canada, there's 30 million, or what was 30 million, over a great continent, right? Every, more or less, well, not every, I don't know every, but a majority of people own 3 houses. They own 3 houses because they're so cheap. They're so cheap. You look at a place in the sun. Look at a place in the sun. If you see the program on television, you go abroad. You go to America. They're very, very cheap, the houses. But here, the southeast, in our road, there's. I mean, the prices are astronomical. There was an extension just built, semi-detached extension. It was a Victorian building, 4-bedroom, semi-detached. It's gone for about 650,000. You know, I know that's semi-detached. I mean, you know, and this is just supply and demand. And the government keeps saying, "Oh, we've got to do something for young people." Young people is what they say. The young people can't get it. Build more houses, but the houses that they build, you look at the ones in Rochford, are very expensive. There's a few social houses, but the developers don't like social houses really. They they do their best to, well, losing money on those. We want the big one, the 4-bedroom, and then we're selling for about 800,000, 750,000. Youngsters can afford. When we were young, we could afford that. We could afford. I mean, we used to buy houses in our 20s. Now they get about 40 or 50 before they can afford. It's shocking. It's shocking, and that's a huge increase in density of population. I hesitate to use overpopulation because that's an emotive term, but density of population is not. Density of population is we're 4 times as dense a population as France. 4 times. I've been to France. I love France. Why the immigrants? I mean, they'll come here, don't they, from France? I think France is one of the most beautiful countries in the world. I've been to the French Alps, walking. There's no one there. There's no one there in the French Alps, and it's it's a big country, 4 times less dense than that. And most of them want to come here. That's because we're a tolerant and courteous people. The English people, those tolerant and courteous. I'm proud of the English people. They're never complimented by the political classes, but they're lovely people, the English people. And that's why a lot of people come here, because they're welcome, and good luck to them.
If the builders are building houses for £800,000,
well, not all, but some.
What I'm trying to get at, and what I'm trying to understand your point of view on, is the way the economy works. People are free to go and build a house if they're a house builder. That's fine. The house builders only want to build £800,000 houses or whatever it is. The people that are already here are increasing in number. The factors about why there's not enough housing, surely that is policy. That's down to house builders not wanting to build them, or the government not taking responsibility for building. I know that after the war there was a big government drive to build actually whole towns at that time to enable reasonable housing for people. But if they could do it then, and why couldn't they do that now? Why does it? Why? I am uncomfortable, and the reason is because it is a very hot potato to lay so much at the feet of immigrants, despite all the caveats.
Not immigrants. You got it wrong there. Not right. Immigrants. Don't blame immigrants.
Yeah, my apologies. I agree that. Yeah,
blame the absurd mass immigration policies of the political classes. Don't blame the immigrants.
No,
they. Yeah. Do you see what I mean?
Oh, I do, absolutely. Yeah. Is it possible to discount these other factors for house prices rising? The fact that you've got the banks demanding high mortgage levels, where, as you say, when you were younger, perhaps a chap and the wife would stop at home, the husband would go out, he would earn enough money to pay his rent, his mortgage, or whatever it is. Now, if a couple get together and they want to buy somewhere, they're only going to be getting a mortgage based on both salaries, and the chances of them getting anywhere that would accommodate them and a young family without the couple or 2 people putting their names to it and having an income, they wouldn't get anywhere suitable for themselves, for a young family. there must be factors like that, and those kind of things are a really big influence on housing, which must be comparable to immigration. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah, you raised a good point there, Mark. Yeah, you've raised a very good point. The other thing, when we were young, when I was young, not we, I was young, sorry.
I was younger once.
No, the world was the oyster. It's so different. But now you've got people coming in, and there's so much more competition for jobs with immigration as well. There's so much more competition. So what has happened with this huge labour choice, with people coming in from abroad and that sort of thing? It's led to compression of wages, particularly, for the young people. And you're quite right. Young people, much more competition for jobs, and young people do not have the opportunity to earn the money to pay for the houses as they used to. It's difficult to get over to people how different it was. I mean, the 50s and 60s, there was so much choice, and you could walk into job banking, law, whatever, and once you were qualified, you could earn good money. It was a different world. Now it's so much harder for the youngsters now, because with compression of wages and that sort of thing, very, very, very difficult for them to earn the sort of money that, to pay for these. I mean, the price of houses has gone up 10% or something this year. Price of houses in the London southeast is huge. I mean,
my question would be, though, is immigration therefore responsible for compression of wages? Would that be your argument?
I think that's certainly another factor of it. Yeah, I think if you the government are bringing in so many people for the relatively, particularly, for jobs. So there's so much. It's supply and demand. If you've got a scarcity of labour, you pay more money. You've got more labour, then and of course this is very much in the interests of the big multinational companies, isn't it? Global companies. This is very much in their interests, and of course they contribute very much towards the Conservative Party. He who pays the piper calls the tune. Sorry. Yeah.
So the result of a wide spectrum of things are the cause, obviously, as you say. If it's globalism, the big multinational companies, their impact, the builders,
very much in the driving seat.
So
they're very much in the driving seat, Mark. Yeah.
Right. So pointing to immigration as one element of a broad spectrum of elements.
Yeah.
Would that be a more accurate way of doing it? And obviously, from our political viewpoint article, you get about 700 words, so you got a lot to say in not very many words. Why I want to sort of dig a little bit.
yeah,
because
yeah,
certainly it seems to me it's a much bigger issue, and it's a bit. It's understandable. You've got 700 words that you have to try and zero in on the
yeah, yeah,
particularly want to talk
yeah,
about, but the
yeah, yeah.
spectrum of influence must be much broader than just immigration. Would you agree with that?
Yes, there are other factors. There's a globalist. I mean, we. I believe that there are many politicians in this country, the globalists, and you know, they. I don't think that they necessarily have the people's interests at heart. I think they're probably more interested in their political parties than they are in the people. I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that. It's country first, the people first. I agree with Abraham Lincoln. It's for the people, by the people, of the people. That's what I agree with, and we haven't got that. But that would be my utopia. You know, a government of the people, for the people, by the people, where democracy, certainly first past the post, is not a fair representation of democracy, proper proportional representation. But you probably will never get that because the two political parties, the big political parties don't want that for obvious reasons. What is your go? No, my go. Go on, no, it's your go. No, my go. Yeah. But if you look at Germany, the most successful post-war country, superb proportional representation system after the war. You know, set that up, don't you? After the war, you know, set it up, don't you?
Happens, I do, yeah.
British, yeah, the British set up a superb political system, proportional representation, and Germany has been hugely successful. This first past the post. Look, first past the post. I stood in the 2015 general election for UKIP. You know that. I got 12,000 votes. There was a 10% swing from the Conservatives to UKIP, and I got nothing. I got nothing at all. All those people that voted for me got nothing. Except I got a little write-up in the House of Commons magazine or book or whatever it is. That's all I got. They said, "You've done rather well. You've done rather well. We put you in the book." The same. But the people who voted for me, 12,000, got 23% of the vote, 23%. I got nothing. All those people that voted, that is ludicrous. That is ludicrous. Those people should, and UKIP in the 2015 general election came second. They got 4 million votes. I can't remember. 3 million votes, 4 million votes. They got more votes than the Liberals and the SNP put together. And the SNP got about 50 representatives in Parliament. The Liberals got, I don't know, quite a few. And UKIP got nothing. And you, we've digressed a bit, but you got me thinking about things there.
You say we've digressed, but actually, wouldn't if you were trying to drill down to actually what is the cause of this problem, doesn't it then, in your view, based on what you've just said, come down to the fact that the country isn't, or the democracy isn't based on proportional representation? Isn't that actually the core reason that it's gone astray, as it were?
I think that's very important. I think you're absolutely right on that. And I think that's a very, very good point to make. That's a very good assessment, Mark. That is very, very important. Had you had proportional representation in this country after the war, you would not have had all the awful, really awful policies Yeah. Selling off the family silver, you know, and all that sort of thing. The most awful policies that you've had by the Conservatives and Labour after, you wouldn't have had that. You'd have had a more moderate, you know, policies and far better policy. You're absolutely right on that. I mean, that is core. That is absolute core. Right. And I agree with you on that. Yeah, very, very important.
It was my question to you, because your explanation, it sounded to me like actually that was the foundation of your perspective on all this, and I was trying to drill down on that.
Yeah, and I think you've made a very good point.
Okay. Right. Well, I think I've got enough, unless there's anything particularly that you would like to say, or you feel we haven't
covered. Have a look at my notes. Well, there's one other thing, obviously, with I didn't particularly mention with planning permission. I mean, you know, the political class is all saying, well, we want brownfield sites, not necessarily green belt. But what happens with brownfield sites? The developers don't like them so much because they are expensive and aggravation. So they're going to go for the green belt sites. I mean, that's a bit of a developer's charter. All this. Also, I think we're probably building the smallest houses in Europe. That's another, you know, land so expensive. I mentioned the Amersham and Chesham by-election. As I say, building houses in the green belt, I've already mentioned that was a factor along with HS2. I regard HS2 as ludicrous. Going all those beautiful countryside destroyed. And what for? Get to London, between London and Birmingham in 10 minutes less? Just a vanity project. It's absolutely crazy. But there you are, you see. I mean, if you had proportional representation, UKIP was always against it. If you had proportional representation, would you have it? You know. But Boris Johnson, he wants his legacy, doesn't he? I build this, I want, you know, build that. But there we are. On that high note.
John, thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Mark. I've enjoyed the interview.
Good. Thank you very much indeed. Take care.